Hi guys, I'm Emily Longaretta, the Senior TV Features Editor at Variety, and I am your host for today's Half Hour with Shrinking. Today, I am joined by creator, executive producer, and writer Bill Lawrence, and actors Christa Miller and Ted McGinley. Thank you guys so much for doing this. I'm so excited to dive into all things Shrinking. And Bill, I want to start out with you. How would you describe this show in a quick overview, just for anyone who maybe hasn't seen it?
Single camera comedy about grief. And because of what you're allowed to do on streaming nowadays, I think you can do kind of ensemble comedies that are about subjects that might not have been fodder for a half-hour ha-ha show even a couple of years before.
Yeah, 100%. So before we get going, let's throw it to a trailer.
What's on your mind today?
I want to change, but I'm not particularly open to make those changes.
I'm trying.
Every time I get rid of one compulsion, another compulsion comes up.
Are you yawning right now? Spoiler alert, I feel like I'm stuck.
Right. How does that make you feel?
Jimmy!
Liz! Hey!
It's 3 a.m.
I'm sorry.
What's in that bowl?
Pretzels.
The other bowl.
Maybe some painkillers.
Maybe?
There's painkillers in there, yeah.
I have to ask, is this you forever?
I don't know. Oh, hey, Paul.
I'm worried about you, kid.
Yeah, we're grieving here.
You've been numbing.
Stop. You're doing sad face.
This is just face. I have resting dead wife face.
He just kept on going on and on about how dumb I am. But he loves me.
Your husband is emotionally abusive. He's not working on it. He doesn't intend to. Just leave him.
Okay.
I think I can help people if I get my hands a little bit dirtier. Your mom wanted you to scatter her ashes, right? We know what they should do. Don't you ever want to just shake them?
Well, we don't shake him.
I take that back. Run? Huh?
Sounds so unethical.
You're just gonna burn down your career and take me with you.
Coin flip?
Get out of here.
Wait, this is my office.
It took you longer than it should have.
My patients are really thriving. This thing I'm doing is really working.
I'm right behind you!
Nobody gets through this life unscathed.
I can't remember Mom's laugh. I can feel her slipping away.
You're faced with a choice. Are you gonna let your grief drown you? Or are you gonna face it, come through the other side?
It's nice to see you have your spark back.
Just gonna leave your car here?
I'm a white guy in Pasadena. The cops will probably just take it back to my house for me.
Must be nice.
Derek, how's it going?
Just walking the dog I didn't want.
My patient moved into her sister's house.
Sounds like the day's off to a great start for both of us.
Ugh,
That show's amazing.
I'm getting Apple TV.
Ted, you should. You definitely should.
I've heard there's some great stuff on there.
I should probably say it's about therapy too. I forgot that part.
that's an important part of it. Well, I kind of want to just start with how you came up with this and why this story was so important for you to tell, and then kind of get into why Christa was perfect for her role.
I've been working on an idea like this for a long time. Christa and I had neighbors, and he was not a therapist, but he was a doctor that went through a similar tragedy. He lost his spouse, and we watched him kind of fall off the deep end. And that scene at the beginning of taking turns, having to go tell someone to shut down a party who's very kind and you feel for, was real. I'd never completely figured out the show, and I was in London doing a different show. Show the trailer. There's no trailer.
Bill does Ted Lasso. Bill is a co-creator of Ted Lasso. I don't know.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was
yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a hot streak. Anyways, the Brett Goldstein and I had been friends long before Ted Lasso. He was hired as a writer on Ted Lasso, then he became Roy Kent. We had worked together years before. And the difference between the two of us is Brett is very prolific and enjoys writing. And I think people that like writing are sociopaths. So we met. My goal was to find a way that I only had to do half as much writing. And Brett was also working on a show about therapists and grief. His was a little darker than mine, and we smushed them together. But the main place we overlapped was everybody has trauma in their lives. Everybody's a step or two removed from grief. My dad's struggling right now with something called Lewy bodies, which is akin to Parkinson's. Brett's dad has Parkinson's. On TV, they usually treat these things very seriously. And the way we kind of dig through them in my family is with comedy and trying to make each other laugh our way through it. So we wanted to try and do a show about heavy topics, but that felt at the same time light and funny. And I'll tell you why I hired both of these guys, because they're both different and specific stories. One is my wife is definitely a muse for me. She's somebody I so very much love writing for her. She's more talented than anybody knows because the type of stuff I've done in the past, she just has to come in and be an exaggerated version of herself. I always tell people she's slightly meaner in real life, but and that was on those shows. And what was exciting for me and Brett and Jason Segel, the other creator, was to put her in a show on this one that she still got to kind of hit that funny bone, but I think she's much more challenged as an actress that can make you feel stuff, and that you can see, that she's got some stuff going beyond the surface and some stuff she's struggling with. And it's been just a true career joy for me to watch her knock it out of the park. Ted McGinley, and then that way I get to shut up and my thing will just scoot out. Ted McGinley has read for me to be the lead of so many projects of mine, one of which he went up against the only other McGinley, John C. McGinley. Not only do I like him as a guy, and not only do I think he's super talented and people have barely tapped to the stuff that he can do, but we so enjoyed the process that we made a pledge to each other that I don't think he believed I would ever follow through on, that we would work together eventually. And
I tried to hire Bill, but I couldn't. All the people that we're working for just didn't want him.
And Ted just didn't know that eventually I would be doing something that I would want somebody to play a version of me that was only slightly better looking and had eyes as blue as mine. Ted, your eyes are very blue. They're beating mine today, man.
It's the painting. I don't even have blue eyes. But I will, let me just say this, that Christa is so phenomenal to work opposite. She is so complicated. There are so many things going on top, underneath, in between, that you feel there. You could never just show up and say lines. It comes at you in so many different ways, and it's so fascinating to watch. I think she's wonderful in this character, and a dream to be lucky enough to play opposite. Never happens in Hollywood where a guy says, "Hey, one day, I won't forget, one day I screwed up every one of those auditions that he's talking about at the highest level." And
Not true.
It is true. I've been getting jobs I've never had to do that process, and I've melted in it every single time. Anyway, Bill one day said, "We'll get it one day." And I thought, sure, and he's one of those people that just comes through, and you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who works for him that doesn't love him. And I owe a great deal to both of these two people before.
Oh, man.
It's true. I mean, I'm not trying to be sappy and nice. It's just really, I was sitting here walking dogs for $6 an hour, and now I'm doing shrinking for 12. So it's
Bill, you doubled his salary. That's so nice of you.
Touching, man.
It was just so nice to, that she's in such a hard position to be the boss's wife, and have a very strong point of view, how you want things to go. And she navigates so many difficult seas every day, and is a beautiful mom. And so anyway, it's just fun to watch these two work, and to watch Bill walk into, like, if I walked into the room like Bill does and started giving my wife notes, I'd have a frying pan across the face. And Kristen, they just worked out a way, and that's where I see the similarities between Derek and Liz. But they've worked out a way to talk to each other and allow each other to talk to each other, because they understand the respect and love underneath. It's fascinating to watch.
I just have to say, both Bill and Ted, I'm so overwhelmed that you guys were so kind. Bill, that was so lovely, and Ted, it's so lovely, and I really appreciate it. I love working with you too, but it's just really kind to say that, and it's such a joy to go to this show every day to go to work. And I feel like my heart is open, and I'm sorry that I'm crying. It's really nice that you guys said
No,
this.
no, we're gonna get more clicks. Babe, it's gonna be.
Hang on, I might start going. Hang on.
Krista Miller breaks down during cool.
Oh, there goes Emily.
We were away for the weekend, and people would come up and to say they liked the show, and no one wanted to take a selfie. No one wanted to take a picture. They just wanted to talk, which is what you want. If someone comes up, they just want to talk and said, "Oh, I lost someone," or "I did this." But then at the end, and everyone loves a different character, which is great. And at the end, everyone goes, "That's Ted McGinley. I mean, your husband." And I'm like, "I know, he's a comedy assassin. He comes in and kills it, and we can't stop laughing. And he makes the day longer because no one can stop laughing because he's a comedy assassin."
I do want to ask Krista, I want to ask you how similar you are to Liz.
In some ways, like I have the nerdy obsession with rocks. Like this weekend, I went, by myself with my knapsack and my pick and went agate hunting. So it's a too boring story to get into. So I do that.
In this show, Krista has the ability to make you think that she's a caring, feeling, and emotionally open woman. So, I think that you are your character is wearing her emotions and where she's at emotionally much more on her sleeve in this show, and it's fun to watch. I think where they overlap is what they find funny and the way they interact with each other. Because look, Ted's saying things that I only wish I could say, Emily, and I've never had the courage to. One we might even show later. But the watching these two, what they bring to it that you don't normally do in your everyday life of banter, is an undercurrent of we wouldn't be able to pull it off if these guys weren't so good that they made you believe that they really truly cared about each other and would kill or die for each other. Yeah. So, man, I'm blown away by both of them. Big fun.
And to Bill saved me, because my instincts are to be slightly more of a prick, kind of in more, if you just read it, it's kind of what it feels like it's supposed to sound like. And Bill has many times said, "Okay, just come in. You're saying something that if you have to color it in a way where it's kind, and yet you're saying something that nobody should say to somebody else." And so it's a challenge, because in the very beginning, I didn't really have that much to hang on to. I couldn't really get this guy, and I had to come up with something. But Bill was the one who was the rock who would say, "Easy, nice," and that worked. And so,
because Bill is so kind.
Well,
my husband is a kind person, and for most of the time, he delivers, and it's all we call it. It's not about content; it's about context. So it's about tone and how you present something. And I think you found that tone. Totally. You say things, but you say, "I know you love me so much," in the show.
By the way, this is getting really, I want Emily to ask more questions. I don't want to sit back while I watch you guys flirt. I'm not.
Well, I feel like we shouldn't wait, and we should throw to this clip, because I think that this kind of explains what we're talking about. So why don't we check out this little sneak peek?
I need to know that when you retire, you're going to find ways to get out of the house, because I need my space. Otherwise, and I say this with love, I will murder you.
But with love.
So much love.
Right.
You know how everyone assumes you play golf because look at you?
Yep.
Maybe learn how to play.
Look, I get that you're freaking out.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, we've been married almost 30 years.
Crazy.
And it took me a while. But I know you. You need your space.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us work.
Yes.
Yeah. But I have been grinding away at my job for so long. It's my turn to be home. I've earned it. Now, if you don't want us on top of each other, that's fine. You need to figure out something to go do, okay?
Are you serious right now?
Yes, but with love.
It's good writing.
I mean, both of your comedic timing is just so spot on, which is why these two characters work so well together. It's so incredible. How did you go about? Bill, I'm gonna have them flirt a little bit more. How did you guys go about creating the chemistry that you did? Because it did come across so natural on screen.
Well, I've kind of known Ted. I mean, I think the whole cast, it's really bizarre to be on a show where everyone is like, they call you to set, everyone's there in 1 minute. Everyone knows their lines backwards and forwards. And everyone has chemistry. But when we started the show, our sets weren't built at Warner Brothers, and we were all in like a holding room at the house we were shooting out, and our trailers were far away. And everyone just started talking about real things. Maybe it's because of the show, because of no small talk. Everyone started going in deep. Ted and I were talking about our kids and music. I was playing a music that I wanted to put in the pilot, and it was that kind of thing. And I think everyone bonded really quickly. And Ted and I said to Bill, if you need to give me a handsome husband, and I want a handsome husband. He said, okay. So that makes it easy. Ted's easy on the eyes. And we have chemistry in real life, thank goodness. We have a lot of chemistry in real life.
No, that's not. Your turn's over.
So much. But I would say it's funny. The chemistry just showed up, as chemistry does. And that day one in the bed, when I say, can you just go? And by the way, that pretty much says everything about the relationship completely. In that one moment, right in the beginning of the show, when he says, can you just do it? And she's pissed off. She throws the pillow at him and he says, love you. That's them. Like, that is 100% that relationship. And it says so much about them. And it just seemed like we went right into this beautiful seam. And I thought, okay, she'll play, and she's so clear when you work with her that where you're going to go. It's really fun. And we just have that. I mean, I'm glad to hear someone else besides me thinks that we have chemistry, because.
But even that day, what he's talking about, I remember that day being in the bed. So you're thrown with someone in bed, even though we have pajamas on, we're in bed. And I remember saying something to Ted, like, what if I move you there, or should we be cut, and Ted's like, whatever, and so to work with Ted, that he plays my husband, it's whatever, you just go, we have chemistry, because we can laugh. We also have a very similar sense of humor. And Ted will, we always get all the takes as written. And then, Bill will sometimes let us put jokes, and Ted says the funniest things that I can't even, and it makes me laugh. And then Bill will keep the takes in where I'm laughing, and I go with it. I don't know. It's a joy to work with Ted and Bill and everyone.
That was an afterthought. I'm okay being an afterthought.
You're not, baby.
Okay.
You are the thought. But it's funny. I don't even like to say that you ever throw a joke in, because the writing is so good that you don't have to. But sometimes we just keep it rolling. You get to say something. But and if you're working with a lot of these actors, if you don't have something to say, you die. I mean, they're coming at you from all sides. So you better have your game on when you show up. And
what was my favorite thing that you threw? I think you threw it out. I don't know if Bill wrote it. That when I'm so mad at you that you don't tell me that Gabby and Jimmy slept together, and I'm so mad, and then you're like, I have it right here.
He said, did you film it? And he's like, I'm not some creeper. And besides, I didn't have to.
Yeah, that's Bill.
And he
That's
goes,
all Bill. Yeah.
He could do some more squats.
Like, I can see it. Yeah.
You can close your eyes and
squats was mine. But yeah, that's all Bill. I mean, that's fun. But I love Christa has killed me so many times, but I love that scene where he says, are you okay? And she goes, are you sad because they were nice to you? And it's just so sweet and endearing, and it says so much about her character and that relationship, and that
Yeah.
they understand each other so well. It's really cool.
Emily, you didn't know that they
Okay.
had such good chemistry that you didn't have to ask questions, right?
Honestly, I don't even know why I'm here. Like,
Yeah,
honestly,
Emily, it's okay. It's not a big deal. They're just
Oh,
gonna keep
hi,
learning.
Emily.
I'm out of a job, so thanks, guys.
Favorite color is dark blue.
Bill, I was going to ask you, how much of yourself did you put into Derek?
Look, one of the things I've done forever, so it's not completely new, is all the actors and actresses, I think, will tell you that whether it's Jessica Williams telling us that she knows every single line to a bunch of one-hit wonders and then she's singing in the car, or Christa Miller polishing rocks, I will take things and from people's regular life and put them in the show just because I think they're funny. Ted has the burden of, he is without a doubt a person that will occasionally do and say what I wish I could do and say. And I've always pictured myself, right or wrong, because I'm actually much more annoying than Ted is in real life. But I picture myself being above the fray and watching this chaos happen around me. And so it's really exciting to write Ted as a character that's watching these group of characters who are all bouncing off of each other. Like, my favorite line is random, because all these characters are narcissistic and they're all entrenched in each other's lives. And they think they're having Ted's retirement party, out having a couple drinks. And he's like, no, I'm having my real party in a couple of weeks, a couple hundred people. And watching all these people realize that separate from their little microcosm, he has a full life of real friends and people that they'll never meet. It just gave me such joy.
I got asked that the other day on a Zoom. They were asking me how I felt about being such a punching bag. And I said, he's far from a punching bag.
No.
And I quoted that exact line. I was saying, he's got a couple hundred friends that they don't even know, or they don't know anything about. Derek has a whole life. And I was saying what's interesting about Liz and Derek is that Liz is trying to fill holes in her life, and Derek has had so much responsibility and things he didn't really want to have to do. And he's had to just get up and grind and work. And he's looking for holes.
Yeah.
Liz is she's filling her holes because she's missing those pieces that made who she is. So she's discovering, that's my take. I'm not putting it on you guys, but that's how I see it. Yeah. And so it's interesting that they're so different and yet the same.
Yeah. I think Bill thinks in his head, I told him not even think of it. He thinks like he's like, in 10 years, maybe I'll retire and then I'll teach. I was like, no, that's not happening. That's not happening.
Every time I come home and there's something new, even like if it's just a pair of jeans or something, my wife will hold them up and go, keep working. Like, come on.
Well, at my house, my wife is constantly saying, can you, I've got to get Bill's number. I need to send this anytime I do something odd.
Yeah, I saw a picture of you with something that I got to put in the show this year. I think you were wearing like a cave explorer hat.
Yeah, so I love flashlights. And I have the one that goes, and I have.
Hey, Ted, who doesn't, man? Who doesn't?
No kidding. So and the great thing is now they're rechargeable. They're very high powered, so they're super cool. And anyway, I've got one that goes in my head. And I told my wife the other day, I was walking around and I was fixing something, and I said, I'm going to get a pile of these. And she just thought that was the funniest thing in the world. She said, you have to tell Bill that. Anyway, that's our new thing. Anytime I say something odd, you got to tell.
Oh my God!
Wandering around with a flashlight on your head.
Now we know whose house to go to if there's a blackout. That's for sure.
I want one now.
My mom and dad last night in the desert, and it was so windy down there, the power went out. And guess who had a lot of power?
Guess who had a flashlight on his head?
This man on the spot.
All right. So before we wrap up, there's something we like to do this at the end of these. If in case people haven't had a chance to watch this, Christa, I want to kind of ask you first. What is the one thing that comes to mind that might entice someone to want to start binging the show?
I think all the characters will draw you in. I also think it's funny. I think it has meaning. I think you'll get something out of it. I mean, people, it's like all the feels. All my Charlotte's friends say they get all the feels when they watch this show.
And Charlotte is our daughter, not just some random person that Christa.
Charlotte Lawrence, yes.
Someone she met outside. Ted, what would you say? What is it for you?
I was going to say it's from the creator of Ted Lasso. So if you like that,
Look at that.
tune in for that. And if you don't like that, then it's got Harrison Ford, Jason Segel, and Chris Miller Lawrence. But I would say it is the smartest show on television. It's the best half-hour script originally that I've ever read in all the half hours that I've read, which are a few. And I think today it's the most inclusive, smart, intelligent, challenging show on television.
Awesome.
That is so much better than mine.
Yeah, but yeah, he
I've
didn't
had
have
time-
10 minutes to think of it.
I've had time to think about it. That's right. Plus, yeah.
I'm so annoyed now.
No, all right. So I'll tell you what I like about it the most is that I have a certain type of show that I like to watch and that I like to write. My first favorite show of all time was called MASH, where they could switch on a dime from crazy, surreal, silly, broad, banter-driven comedy, an amazing cast, to then stuff that kind of hit a emotional depth that you weren't ready for. And that type of stuff went out of vogue for a while. And the fact that I get to do it again is such a gift. But I will tell you that my biggest thing is to get to check out a show that has emotional levels and will hopefully hit all the feels. But, you know, one of my pet peeves, if you're going to do a half-hour comedy, be funny, man. And I'm telling you, the cast on this show brings the heat comedically. And every one of them, top to bottom, even the kids, even Lukita and Luke, you know, who have to suddenly, you know, go toe-to-toe with these heavyweights, with, you know, not only Ted and Christa, but Jason and Jessica.
Yeah.
And by the way, Michael, Yuri, who plays Brian, who is just a comedy assassin like Ted and Christa. But yeah, and also I'd say at the end of the day, it is an honor to curate a Harrison Ford performance that I don't think people have seen in a long, long while. I always remembered him as a comedy actor, so it's weird to me now that people are writing about. I remember Working Girl, and I thought he was so funny in Indy and so funny as Han Solo. So it's both an honor to be part of people saying, "Oh my God, he's good at comedy," but I'm also surprised that people don't remember. So it's such a blast to see him playing around. He's gotten to play with each and every one of these people, and each one of the scenes makes me more gleeful than the next.
It's amazing. So much fun. So much fun. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to our friends at Apple TV Plus, Bill, Christa, Ted, of course. Thank you for joining us today. And to everyone watching, thank you for joining us for Half Hour With.